collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, MPs move to clarify the rules on charitable donations at funerals.
I believe that the loved ones of any person who passes away have the absolute right to determine where the donations go.
An upcoming competition will show how robotics can be used to galvanise young people's creativity.
We are good on ideas. We are good on talking, but we are very bad in achieving.
And the Cyprus Rugby Federation aims to set up a women's section with training facilities in all major towns.
And we hope that by next season we can actually have a women's team ready to go into international rugby.
A couple of weeks ago, our MPs decided to give the Church of Cyprus one more month to come up with a uniform policy on funeral charity donations before they take legislative action. The House Human Rights Committee was discussing the issue recently, and when I met up with their chairman, Stella Kyriakidis, I asked her to explain what the problem was.
Well, in fact, what has happened is that we voted in a new law that has to do with how you regulate donations and how you regulate contributions, because it's very important that this is done and regulated, because for a long time this was not the case. In trying to correct a situation that was creating problems in the past, we put in an article saying that if someone dies, because the whole law is not about funerals, it's about generally contributions and donations. When someone dies, their next of kin should have the right to decide where the donations go, and the church committee, the committee of the church where the funeral is held, should respect the wish of the king with the agreement of the committee of the church. Before, there was no article at all, and there were constant arguments because they wanted to donate to one NGO, another NGO would want to be in the churchyard, the church itself wanted to take part of the contributions, and we tried to put this in to regulate it and do away with the problem. So in fact, by putting it in, we created a bigger problem, because by saying that the next of kin should be able to say where they want the donations to go, but this should be with the agreement of the church committee. Where the church committee does not agree, we have arguments all the time. This is not across the whole of Cyprus, and this is not in all areas. In some areas and in some churches there are absolutely no problems. The next of kin go, they say we want to donate donations to go for cancer or for heart disease or to the family, and there is no problem. In some cases, though, there have been reports when the church committee doesn't agree with this.
And that's when they put their own tables there, or
Yes,
sometimes even worse, I believe they don't put their tables there. People think they're donating to a particular charity, and then the charity has to pay the church.
The church does put their tables there, and there is also no policy as to how much % of the contributions the church will take from the donations. There are some metropolis that say that when there are donations, we always take 40%, and the rest, the 60%, goes to the charity or to the family as the loved ones decide. There are other metropolis that don't take anything. So we have seen this another 2 times in the Committee of Human Rights, trying to regulate it. And the position as it stands now, because there seems to be a very unclear situation of who can do what in the area around the church, whether that area belongs to the church so they can regulate who puts tables there. It's their property. It's like the garden of your house. You need permission to be able to put tables there.
So how are you going to get round that?
Well, we asked for the Attorney General to give us an opinion on how this can be regulated, and because the Church and the Archbishop knows about the problem, they're having a meeting on 6th of June, the Iera Synodos, where they will decide how they will deal with it and they will regulate it. We're waiting to see the result, and we've already put it to be discussed in Parliament on the 9th of June. If what they come up with as a proposal is not to our satisfaction, then we will change the law again. I believe that the loved ones of any person who passes away have the absolute right to determine where the donations go. If the church needs to take a percentage to do with the church itself for anything that they do with uptake or maintenance, that usually goes in because you pay to have a funeral done, and also if there's going to be more than that, there has to be transparency so that every time someone is giving a donation, they know where the money is going.
Okay, but people do pay for the church to hold the funerals.
Exactly, so there needs to be transparency, and if the church is going to be taking a percentage on every donation, then this needs to come out officially and people need to know. What is happening now is that people are giving donations and they really don't know whether the charity that has been designated by the family is getting the full amount. And I think that this is not acceptable, and this is why we have it again in the Parliament to correct what I will say, a mistake that we ourselves made.
The chairman of the House Human Rights Committee, Stella Kyriakidis.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Well, we're going to get techie now and look ahead to June the 25th. Why? Because Robotech's 17 competition will be taking place then. The entries closed yesterday. Joining us to explain what it all involves is the board secretary of the Cyprus Computer Society, Panikos Masouras. Panikos, I've always noticed that a lot of young Cypriot people are very techie oriented, and a lot of them are also into robotics. So I presume that those are the people you're aiming to attract to this event, are they?
Oh, well, the vast majority of the participants will be kids, students of primary and secondary education, but also students at the university level. But we also have a special category that covers all of the rest, soldiers, graduates, professionals, people in general that are interested in robotics technology or technology in general. But yes, you are right. We are aiming mainly at the young generation because we want to give them a push. We know they are into technology already. We want to give them another direction, not only tablets, not only PCs, not only games, but we want them to focus on things they can construct, things they can program, because now coding is also becoming part of our lives, and that's another mandate from the European Union that we need to achieve.
As part of the digital agenda. But artificial intelligence, I mean, AI is the buzzword everywhere now. All businesses, everybody seems to be marching inexorably in that direction.
AI and machine learning and neural networks, putting all this together, you can do amazing things that we only see in science fiction movies. They are not science fiction anymore. They are realities, and they are with us, and they are here to stay. And we need to learn to live with technology. Learning to live with technology requires an open mind not only for the kids, for the teachers, the adults, the parents, in order to manage to bring the gap between the generations.
But it's also very important if you look at it from a business or entrepreneurial point of view, because a lot of small countries, and I'm thinking particularly of Estonia, who came here to, I think, talk to our government about best practice in digitising government services, for example, they are way ahead, and it's an opportunity for young Cypriots, isn't it?
Of course, it's an opportunity for young Cypriots. Now, I think some 25 years ago, if I may say, when we organized a big conference under the auspices of President Vasiliou. And during that conference, we organized a number of workshops, parallel workshops, in which professionals, businessmen, young people, teachers, academics came together in order to put their brains together, let's say, down, in order to give an idea to the government what to do in order to take the country forward. And if you recall, President Vasiliou at the time was talking about converting Cyprus to an intelligent island. Yeah, if you recall that, that statement by President Vasiliou. Unfortunately, we didn't achieve that aim, although all participants put so many ideas together. And I have the booklet and I look at it now and I say, this is as current as it was then. yeah, so relevant as it was then. And we have the issue of, let's say, let me give an example, the example of the technological park. The government announced it many times. They got out on tenders, and there was only one organization from Thailand competing. We put that proposal on table to the planning bureau of the government back in early 90s. 30 years later, we didn't achieve to
So we still haven't got it.
construct the technology park. What I'm trying to say here, we are good on ideas. We are good on talking, yeah? But we are very bad in achieving.
So
and
that's
doing.
what Robotex is actually asking
exactly.
people to do. Put your ideas into something concrete.
Exactly. And you said before, Estonia, the Estonians, at the time when we were discussing about our master plan for the IT sector, yes, or for the IT or the Information Society of Cyprus, the Estonians were still under the Soviet era. You can compare the two worlds now. The Estonians are far ahead. They are not only have in government, but they have in governance. Two different things. They have gone one step further. We are still at the starting line. We are still about to start working on it. I'm not saying Minister Petridis, who was the minister to the president until a couple of weeks ago, he did a great job in putting together a team in an attempt to retransform the public sector, for example.
He's very pro-technology and the shortcuts it can create.
Indeed, he is. But still, the parliament didn't vote anything. Can you imagine? I mean, so many ideas. Or, let me give you another example. They put together this Ariadne thing. The Ariadne is
the government portal, isn't it?
It's a government portal under which all government services have to come under that umbrella. What kind of services are being offered there? Nothing. They still invite people to fill in papers, to fill in forms, to send them by fax or to send them by email. There is no complete process from point zero to point X where you get your job done. Yet.
Online, yeah.
Online.
So Robotex is going to try and change some of that, and I know you've got some plans that you will be reaching towards the Estonian model of their Robotech exhibition, which is huge.
Yeah.
Certainly within, 3 or 4 years. But let's talk about this year's competition.
Okay.
How many participants have you got, and what will they be doing? Because you've got different categories, haven't you?
Yeah, okay. The aim of the competition in general is to attract young students to what we call STEM. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Education, and Mathematics. And these are the fields that are considered interdisciplinary, and when you match them together, when you mix them together, you can do amazing things, okay? And this is the new trend in most education sectors across Europe. Again, in this area, we are...
Do we have it in our schools?
No, we don't.
Why
That's
not?
what I was about to say. We are falling behind in that area as well. And our aim is to exactly attract people in that area. Our aim is to give our Ministry of Education the push, let's say, to move towards this direction in order these technologies through robotics can become mainstream in our schools. Let's not think about robotics as something that students will play with. Of course, they will play and they will have fun, but they will learn. They will learn to cooperate, they will learn to collaborate, they will learn to solve problems, they will learn to think, they will learn to communicate, they will learn to talk. All these are skills that our students are lacking as we speak. We need to improve these skills. We need to bring our students at a certain level where they can make their dreams a reality. Making dreams reality requires that kids cooperate, they collaborate outside of the classroom, not necessarily in the classroom. We have an idea that school is everything. School is not everything. The outside world is everything. So in this sense, we have explored, let's say, the European space as regards to robotics, looking for a particular competition to cooperate with and launch in Cyprus. Well, we came across a number of them, and the most interesting one, the most promising one, and the one that had results to demonstrate, let's say, was the Robotics competition in Estonia. It was launched in 2001 with the aim to improve what we are talking now, to launch technologies that like robotics in their schools. And their aim was by 2020 to have a certain number of participants in their competition. They achieved this number 5 years earlier than their target. What does this show? This shows that planning, persistence, and bringing people together can actually achieve things. The Estonians, in case that we forget, their educational system is ranked among the top 5 in the world as we speak, in different educational rankings, in different international examinations. The Estonian kids, the Estonian students are ranked top. We want to follow their model. We want to follow their experience. We want to gain an insight from what they have achieved in order to replicate their successes in Cyprus. And exactly the Cyprus Robotics Challenge aims to bring together children in order to compete in different areas.
And what are those areas?
Yeah. Let me clarify that participants will be in different categories: in primary school, gymnasium, high school, university, and as I said before, a special category for
older people.
Older people. Let's bring everybody together. So we have competitions, for example, like sumo. If you recall, sumo is in Japanese wrestling. So we will be seeing robots constructed by students, by kids, by university students to fight against each other, trying to win a battle. So we will have a ring.
And they have to push the other one out.
They have to push each other out and declare a winner, let's say. Of course, this will have to be done following certain rules. The sumo rules are very complicated.
Okay. Well, we don't need to go into those, but that's one of the categories. Yeah. What about the others? There's a Lego one.
The other categories. There is what we call a line-following competition, in which robots have to follow a certain line that is displayed on a field, starting from one point, going to the end, and their time will be measured, and the robot with the fastest time or the lowest time will be the winner. Another interesting competition will be what we call the city passing. As you know, us Cypriots are lousy drivers. We speed too much in highways, we have accidents, we drink too much when we drive. That's bad.
We jump red lights.
Yeah, we jump red lights. So through this city passing competition, we want to promote the good driving practices among people. And what this involves an environment like a city, let's say, through which robots will drive in order to go from one part of the city to the other and park themselves safely. We have a competition called Lego We Do and Gino Mini. These two competitions aim for children in primary school, first to third grade of primary school, in which students will construct their own robot in a certain environment. The theme of their competition is robots in our life, so they will have to use their imagination, their creativity, in order to put something innovative together to be demonstrated to the rest of the participants, to their parents, to their trainers, in order for them to show their, let's say, innovation skills and their creativity skills by constructing robots in that theme.
But with those robots, if you're talking about very young kids, have they got the knowledge to actually make the robots move, or is it the design of the sort of body of the robot you're after?
We are certain that they don't have the skills because they are just being exposed to the technology, but they are learning very fast. It's amazing how fast kids are learning when they are thrown together with technology. But also we have the role of the mentors, of the trainers, that either they are teachers or their parents in some cases or their friends of older age, that will be helping them. But mainly they will come from schools and training institutions.
It's obviously going to be a huge event because it's particularly the first one, as we said, in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Now, we said it's happening on June the 25th. It's open to the public, I presume,
It's open to the
because you
public.
can get the message across not only to people who know about the competition,
Of course.
but to Cypriots in general. So when and where should people be looking out for how they can go and see what all these people come up with?
Okay, the competition will take place on, as we say, in June 25th. It will take place at the Kostas Papalinas Athletic Center. This is the old Kerapnos Strovolou Stadium. We will start 8 o'clock in the morning and we will end early in the evening. And we are hopeful that we'll be able to achieve the targets that we have set regarding the number of teams and the number of participants. The public is invited to attend, to watch the competitions taking place.
But this is just one day.
This will mean just one day.
What a shame. Are you going to take it to other towns afterwards, maybe?
Let me explain our vision. Our vision is to, in 2020, to have a 3-day event exactly as they have it in Estonia. We start small in order to be successful, gain the confidence and organize this very interesting event. We will have guests from Estonia watching us, like observers, in order to make sure that we do everything right. And yes, by 2020, we want to make this competition a regional competition. We want to invite Israel, we want to invite Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, Greece, in order to participate in our 2020 event. We are already planning for this 2020 event because for us, Rombodex 17 is taking place and is going to be a very big success. So we will be planning on our success for achieving more.
And that is Panikos Masouras, very enthusiastic. It does sound exciting about the upcoming Robotex exhibition and contest, which is taking place on June the 25th. And we'll be talking to him on a future programme more about the work of the Cyprus Computer Society.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Now, we're going to talk about sport. Cyprus rugby has gone from strength to strength in relatively few years. But we don't have a women's team. Well, we don't yet. That's about to change. Joining us on the programme this week is the media spokesman for the Cyprus Rugby Federation, Alexander McCowan. Alexander, why do you need a women's team?
Well, it's a requirement of our governing body, the Federation of European Rugby Associations. Almost every international team has to have a women's side, as well as it has to have youth development and academies and other institutions like this. We've been given dispensation over the last few years because we are such a small country. And the other thing is our governing body knows how starved we are of funds by our sports authority in Cyprus, which really is only concerned with football. And it will require a certain amount of financial support to get it off the ground. We have to find our members first. Then we have to have training facilities for them. And we hope that by next season we can actually have a women's team ready to go into international rugby.
It's going to be very difficult. It was with the men because we simply don't have rugby as a sport in our schools. So where are you going to find women who want to take up rugby?
Very interesting question. Yes, as you quite correctly point out, we have very, very little sporting participation in our schools, certainly in our state schools, which really is a disgrace. But in some of the private schools, we do have interest. Incidentally, every year the Federation runs a competition among schools in Cyprus. We have a national competition, but 99% of the participants are from private schools.
And I would imagine quite a few of them are not Cypriot.
There are quite a number that are not Cypriot, but I would point out that some of our caps, our younger men, have come up. In fact, our captain, Marcos Mladenovic, learned all his rugby in Cyprus and he was schooled through the Limassol Academy. We have others who have come up through their academies. Each of the main towns has one, Paphos, Nicosia and Limassol, and it is our intention of raising our players from our populace.
Right, if we come back to the ladies, what sort of commitment are they going to have to give if they want to join what will presumably be the Cyprus squad?
Yes. One of our promises we've already mentioned is recruiting nationals. But of course, under international rules, we have dispensation for anyone who is resident. There are any number of women who may qualify by residency, by marriage to Cypriots, who are eligible to play for us. We did make some inquiries, particularly of a number of our EU members who are now resident in Cyprus, who have played rugby or have played sports at a very high level in their own country.
Now, what about people who live abroad? Because when, if I recall correctly, the Cyprus rugby was set up in the first place, your very first national team consisted of quite a large number of Cypriots who were playing rugby, for example, in the UK, and who joined the squad and were remarkably successful and helped to bring on the people who took it up when they were in Cyprus.
You're absolutely right, Rosie. Like all international sides, we can call upon our native players wherever they may be found. And of course, so many of our players have learned their rugby outside of Cyprus. It's true to say that the founding fathers of Cyprus rugby perhaps learned most of their rugby in South Africa. And when their parents returned to Cyprus from South Africa, the children came here and, of course, missed the rugby that is almost a religion in South Africa, and started playing beach rugby and touch rugby, and now, of course, many of them are mature beyond the point where they could play rugby now. But yes, it is true.
And do we have Cypriot women in the teams in South Africa and the UK?
That's what we're trying to discover. We will make our appeals. We already have made an appeal in the London Pariakiaki, the weekly paper of the Cypriots and Greeks in London, and the sports editor who takes quite an interest in Cyprus rugby has agreed to put out a small advertisement for us to see if they can attract players that will come from some of the English public schools. By public schools, of course, I mean private schools. And they do have women's rugby, which is quite big in the universities. We have located one or two women here who are working in our schools and universities who have played rugby to quite a high standard through their university involvement.
So they'll be the first members to be signed up, I imagine. How many women do you need to make a workable training facility and squad?
An international squad is 22. We would expect to have perhaps not more than 30 registered players because of the scarcity of women players in Cyprus. But then again, you see, when we started with the men's international team, as you point out, we had to go abroad to mostly put a team together. And I think that will occur here.
So you'll be setting up academies in all the major towns. Where can women who would like to find out more find out more?
Well, they can contact our development officer, Rick Wadmore, who can be contacted on development@cyprus-rugby.com, or they can contact me on 99354 and we would hope that they can come back to us as soon as possible. And of course, we will go out on Facebook at a later date.
And we should add here quickly, should we not, that this includes Turkish Cypriots.
We are the only international team to include Turkish Cypriots.
In the Cypriot squad?
In the international squad. In fact, our last game, which is our most dramatic game, which is against Croatia, was the final game of our very, very long-serving scrum half, Turhan Torgot. And he retired from rugby after that game.
So if you're a lady in Cyprus who would like to try your hand at rugby, then do contact the Cyprus Rugby Federation. That number again, Alexander?
Is 99354
And that was Alexander McCowan, who's the media spokesman for the Federation. And let's see the ladies here match the success that the men's Cyprus rugby team has had. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.